Hi guys, it's Jen with Creatively Homemade, and today I have for you a cute Christmas card idea. This was made with the Smitten Mittens stamp set that's in the holiday catalog, and this is kind of a fun technique. Instead of your traditional card that opens on the one side, this is a gatefold card where you have two flaps that open like a gate. And then you can put whatever sentiment or holiday greeting you want inside. And then when you want to close it, this little circle of the sentiment fits right under that little mitten flap and it keeps it closed. Super, super cute and super easy to make. Now this is the Smitten Mittens stamp set. Sorry about that glare, guys. It's really, really cute. I love the little sending warm and fuzzy Christmas wishes your way, and it's got a little smitten stamp. Super adorable. This is great for making cards and Christmas favors, and you could even use it to make little tags for your gift packaging. Such a cute set to have in your stamp library. And one other neat thing about this stamp set is it has a coordinating die set, and I just love this one. It's kind of a pain to punch out all the little pieces, but the end result is super cute. I mean, look at those little mittens. Aren't those adorable? And then this one, this die set can be used to make your tags or whatever you want. So this is a really great bundle to add to your craft library. So I thought I would show you how to make this card today. It's really easy. Let's get started. Okay, now I always like to start by cutting all my paper at once, and that way I use my paper trimmer once and I can put it back away and don't have to keep pulling it back out. So you need a piece of red or green cardstock for your card base. With this card, I made it with the green. I'm going to show you how you can reverse the colors, and that is going to be super cute as well. So this is just an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock cut in half, so it's 8.5 inches by 5.5 inches. Then you're going to need a piece of Whisper White cardstock that is cut to 5.25 inches by 4 inches, and that is going to be for the inside of your card so you can write your holiday greeting. And then you need 2 rectangles of Be Merry Designer Series paper. This is really cute mitten design, which goes perfectly with the Smitten Mittens stamp set. So you need 2 of those that are cut to 5.25 inches by 1 7/8 inches. So you can set aside the designer series paper and the white cardstock for now, but I'm going to go ahead and fold this into our gatefold. So you want to pull out a scoreboard, or you can use a paper trimmer that has the scoring blade on it. And you want to line up the 8.5 inch edge along the top of your scoreboard or the top of your trimmer. Now the thing I like about Stampin' Up scoreboard is that we have these little pointers, and you can stick them in the top so that you know where you need to score, and that saves you from having to squint at it and figure out exactly where you need to make your fold. So I really like that about Stampin' Up scoreboard. So you want to score your cardstock at 2 1/8 inch, and then again at 6 3/8 inch. And that's going to give you the gatefold. So let me set this aside. And then you just want to crease those edges. And a bone folder gives you a nice crisp fold. You see, it forms a little gate. So that's all for the cutting. Now we're going to move on to the stamping. So there's not much stamping on this card, but it does have 2 little stamped images. I'm using this sentiment from the Smitten Mittens stamp set, and it says, "May you have many merry moments surrounded by those you love," and that's going to go on the front of the card. And then on the inside of the card, you can either leave it blank, or you can stamp a little Merry Christmas sentiment, and that's what I did on my example one. That Merry Christmas script stamp is actually part of the Star of Light stamp set if you want to find that, or you can use whatever Merry Christmas sentiment you might have on hand. So you just need a scrap of white for your sentiment. Now, I'm doing this a little bit different than my example. For my example, I stamped it on green cardstock and I used the white craft stamp, which works well on dark cardstock. But I want to see how it looks stamped on white and then rimmed in red. So we'll see how that turns out. So I'm just using black ink to ink up my sentiment. And I'm stamping that on a piece of scrap Whisper white cardstock. And then I'm also going to ink up that Merry Christmas sentiment using the same black ink. And this is the Whisper white cardstock that's going to go on the inside of our card. So I'm just going to stamp Merry Christmas up on the top here. Okay. So that is all the stamping we have to do, and now I'm going to get my die cut machine and we're going to do some die cutting. Okay, so I just grabbed my die cut machine, and first I want to cut out that circle around the sentiments. And so I am using the Layering Circles die set. This is a really cool set that has all different sizes of circles, and then it has scallop circles that you can use to make layers that are just a little bit bigger than the regular circles. So it's a fun one to have too. If you don't have this die set, you can also use circle punches. That would work too. Now this circle die that I'm using is about, I think it was about 1.5 inches, and it fits perfectly for this sentiment. So just go ahead and die cut that. Okay, so we've got that piece. And then pull out a scrap of real red cardstock, and we're going to do the scallop circle. And then just run that back through. Now I'm using my magnetic platform for this. It works really well with these wafer thin dies to hold it in place on your paper, especially that's important if you're cutting out a sentiment and you don't want the die to slip and waste and have to, you know, redo your work. Now for the next part though, I'm going to be using my precision plates. This is the plate you need to use if you have intricate dies, which is any of the intricate snowflakes or the mitten from the set. You need to use this plate. It just makes it come out better. So you need to put that one on your regular platform. You don't want to use it with the metallic one or the magnetic one, because it will stick to it and it's kind of hard to pry apart. So with this one, this acts as your cutting plate, so you don't need the second cutting plate with this one. So I'm just going to put my mitten down there. And another tip I have about these intricate dies is don't just run it through once, because especially if your cutting plates are older, they may be worn and they might not do a good job with just one pass through. So run it through several times, and that increases the likeliness that all those little pieces will pop out easily. My cutting pads are really old, so I'm going to run this through like 3 or 4 times. If your cutting pads are new, then you might not have to do it so many times. Okay, let me move all this aside. Let's pull that back out. And it kind of wants to stick in there. So if you have a paper piercing tool or a safety pin or something like that, it'll help you pop these out. There are little holes all the way around the edge of this die, and that's to help you eject the paper. Something else you can do also is grab a small piece of parchment paper and put that in between the die and your cardstock, and that'll help it pop out easier as well. So there we go. Now you need to pop out all these little pieces, but that paper piercing tool will help you pop those out. And I'm not going to do all of that on camera for you. I already have 2 pieces that I've cut out, so you don't have to watch me pop out all the little details. Okay, the last die cut pieces you need to cut out are the blank mitten, and that's going to be the backing so that the intricacy of the other mitten really shows up well. So just cut 2 of these out of the Whisper White cardstock, and you want to use this one that is facing the same way as the more intricate mitten is. So you want to just run that through and cut 2 of those. Okay, so these are all the die cut pieces you need. You need 2 white mittens. You need 2 of the detailed mittens in red or green, whichever color scheme you're going with. And you need 1 sentiment cut into a circle, and then you need a scallop circle so you can mount it. So now that we've got all our die cut pieces made, let's get starting on assembling our card. Okay, now we've got all our pieces ready and we're ready to put it together. I am using a couple of different kinds of adhesive just to make this go together easier. I am using regular snail adhesive. It's a tape runner, and that's what I use for nearly all my cards. But for this one, the intricate little mitten piece, you're going to want something a little bit, you're going to want glue for that. So you can either use your fine tipped glue, which I recommend, or your Tombow, and I'm actually going to use both. And then you'll also need some Stampin' Dimensionals. So let's get started. We can go ahead and put this little insert into the inside of the card. Just run some snail adhesive on that and it will hold it in place. And open your card up and put it right in the middle, just like so. And then you want to close your card, and then on the outside here is where we're going to put those little mitten designer series paper rectangles. So go ahead and adhere those to the flaps. That designer series paper pack is really cute. You don't have to use the mitten paper that I've shown. You can use any of it. It's all Christmassy and red and green and super cute, so any of it's good. I just like the mittens because it goes with the mitten stamp set that I used. Okay, now we've got our little flaps on. Okay, so now we have all our layers on our card base. We're ready to add the embellishments. And I'm going to start with that sentiment. So go ahead and use some snail adhesive to stick the sentiment down to the scalloped circle. Leave an even border around the edge, just like so. Now, this sentiment is only going to be adhered to the right half of the card. So when you add adhesive to this, you want to make sure that you're only adding it to half of it. And then you're going to stick it right about in the middle. So I'm going to add some adhesive really quick. Oops, tried to get away from me. And then stick that right about there. Okay. Now you want to add the white backing to the mittens, and this is where I use multiple types of adhesive. I prefer the Tombow adhesive, but it's too much. When you squirt it out, it's too thick to go into some of these smaller places. So I do as much as I can with the Tombow, and then I switch to the fine tip pen. So let me get the glue put on there. I do like the thumb in the Tombow, and you can do the space up here at the top and around the snowflake, but then you'll want to switch over to the fine tipped glue pen. And you could probably do the whole thing with the fine tip pen. I don't know. I just don't. Since it goes on in a thinner stream, it's easier to do the bigger spaces in the Tombow if you can. Okay. So I found the easiest way to line it up is just to put it in your hand with the adhesive side up and then place the white mitten over it. And since it's liquid glue, you have a little bit of play time to slide it around and make sure that it's lined up correctly before the glue sets. So just like so, and the white really makes the design on the mittens pop, and it looks so cute. So I'm going to go ahead and do the second one, and then we will finish assembling the card. Okay, to finish this card up, you're going to put one of the mittens down in the lower right corner with the thumb facing up, and then you're going to put the other mitten over on this side with the thumb facing down. Now the one that you're adhering to the right side, you can just glue down with your snail adhesive. Now one thing you do need to be careful about is you want to make sure that you don't put adhesive on the back of the whole thing, because see here, it's going to overlap on the other side, so you don't want to glue the tip of this mitten down. So you want to look at it and make sure that you don't really put adhesive past this section right here. So I'm just going to add another little strip of snail here and then add it to my card. I kind of try to put the thumb up there by the word love and put it at a little bit of an angle, just like so. Now this mitten is going to help hold the card closed. So I'm going to pop it up on some Stampin' Dimensionals so that it makes it easy for this circle to slide underneath the mitten. So there are my Stampin' Dimensionals. I had to look for a second. So you're going to add about 4 Stampin' Dimensionals. And again, you don't want to go past like this part on the mitten because you don't want any adhesive to go over on the other side of the flap. So I'm just going to add some Stampin' Dimensionals. About 4 will do it. And then if you still have your paper piercing tool out, you can use that to take the backing off of those. Sometimes that can be a pain. I just like to try to slide my paper piercing tool underneath the backing if I can and help lift it up. Just like so. And see, if you can see there, that's about where I place my dimensionals to ensure that there's none on the other side of the card. So then put it at an angle much like the other one, but you want to make sure that you're not going over the sentiment at all here at the top. So right about there is good placement for that, and then it holds it closed. Just like so, and when you want to close it back up, you can slide it underneath the mitten. So here are the 2 versions of this card that I created today. This one I used Whisper White Craft ink to stamp the sentiment on garden green cardstock. And this one I stamped the sentiment on white cardstock and then mounted it with a red circle to help that pop up the page. Now after I got them both finished, I think I ended up liking this one better. I think the sentiment shows up better on this one. But you tell me. Be sure to leave me a comment below and let me know which one you prefer. Did you like the sentiment stamped in the white ink with the red mittens, or did you prefer the sentiment on the white cardstock with the green mittens? Be sure to leave me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. So if you would like to make these cards as your Christmas cards this year, I have a complete supply list of everything you need down in the description box below, so be sure to check that out. And if you missed any of the measurements or any of the steps to make it, I have my blog post link down below that you can print and use that to make these cards later. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you liked it, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more of these types of videos, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Coming later this week, I have some more projects featuring the fun Smitten Mittens stamp sets. Thank you guys so much for watching. Happy crafting. Bye.